Focus. Ideate. Innovate. Enable.
With a slew of fresh economic decisions taken by the Indian government, these are exciting times for the Indian economy. Promises of growth and development are abound with the announcements of economic reforms, which include FDI in retail and aviation. The bets are high on the consumption-driven demography of India, which in years to come is set to be a vibrant playfield for new and established enterprise. But as the country gears for speed and growth, how does the Indian enterprise need to adapt? What are the gaps that need to be sealed, and where do we go from here? These are some of the larger issues which were put up for discussion at the 39th IMA National Management Convention held at Mumbai recently. The two-day-long event saw a confluence of thought leaders from the fields of business, economics, management and government. It was an opportunity for all present to share ideas and gain perceptions about India's changing economic landscape.
The two-day conference is a unique opportunity for all of us to hear from some of the best minds from the government, from the opposition parties, and also have some of the best corporate CEOs who will be sharing their views, analyze the current economic situation, and share some thoughts on how we can take the GDP growth upwards. India's GDP growth has fallen very sharply since January 2011. Our forecast of a little over 6.5% is definitely not enough for a country which is aspiring to achieve inclusion and create jobs for almost 300 million people who will be coming into the system in the labor market by 2025. So obviously, we need to take up the growth rate in order to be able to address these aspirations. In the last couple of weeks, during the last couple of weeks, we have seen some significant decisions from the central government, which clearly indicates the urgency from the policy makers in order to achieve the growth rate. We have many more things to do. Definitely reforms is one of them. But more importantly, we need to create confidence. It's all about sentiment and confidence in order to attract investment, both domestically and also from the international market.
Will the new economic measures kickstart growth? Which are the factors to watch out for? What would be the deciding factors for the Indian companies to look out for? The IMA Managing Convention found insights on all of these issues. How would the business leaders of tomorrow need to shape their businesses to survive and thrive? We will bring you those insights from the 39th IMA Convention after a break.
Focus. Ideate. Innovate. Enable. Focus. Ideate. Innovate. Enable.
With the Indian growth percentage slipping down since 2011, generating employment for fresh graduates who are waiting to enter the job market is one of the biggest challenges before the Government of India. To address this issue of growth and employment generation, the FDI in retail is expected to be of key significance, as it is expected to create approximately 4 million direct jobs and almost 5 to 6 million indirect jobs, including contractual employment, within a span of 10 years, making it the largest sector in organized employment.
There's been a growing impatience in the country, especially the youth, as you have mentioned. We've got lots of young people, more young people in this country than any other country of the world, and they're growing up. They have great expectations because they've seen this country moving as they have grown up. I mean, they weren't born like I was born in the 40s. I mean, they were born in the 90s, some of them, and all they've seen is growth, excitement, new things happening. So aspirations, expectations are high. At the same time, we have found that there is a lot of disappointment also, a lot of unhappiness with corruption, unhappiness with things not done properly, feelings that they don't get what they want, young people, when they need it. They don't get a job of the sort that they want, when they expect, when they've been through school, which they believe is a good school, a good college, they got an MBA degree, but what is the job after it? So this is a mismatch here, high expectations and a breakdown of confidence in the system. So what we said is, the reforms required now are about basic governance, basic administration, basic clean implementation.
The Gen Y, as they are called now, is very different from the Gen X that we kept talking about, and very different from our generation, frankly. This generation is more into wanting to get things done. They want more transparency in every aspect of their lives. They have seen the digital era even when they were born. I mean, 2- 3-year-olds are also talking on mobile phones. So they have a lot of expectations from the society and how they want to live in it. I think this era wants to work hard, but they also want to play hard. They have an opinion and they want to be heard. And I think this generation cannot be ignored, because the future is theirs. It's the future of the digital era, it's the future of the young people, and they want transparency, they want things to get done, they want to be just with it. So I think the insight that IMA has really got is that you have to change the way that you think and you work if you want to get this generation on board. And you cannot afford not to get this generation on board, given that India's average age is only 26 years. So I think we need to listen to them carefully. I think industry, government, all need to listen to them carefully, because what they are asking for today is a lot more transparency in the way things work, be it the government, be it the industry. They want to be part of that movement, and I think we need to allow them to do so.
Multi-brand retail coming in, overseas investment. What is it going to do? It's going to create lots of jobs for people who have relatively modest skills, have some skills, but it's going to create jobs which are massive in nature, one. Second, it's going to create back infrastructure, right from the farmer to the consumer, and it's going to ensure that agricultural waste on fruits and vegetables is greatly reduced, right? Something like from 40% it may come down to 10-15%, 40% waste down to 15% waste. That's a huge benefit to the country.
While the economic reforms are expected to bring a wide range of changes socially and economically, there still needs to be reforms in India's governance for these policy changes to create impact.
But the real reforms we need is in process and governance. And this is, I think, our biggest challenge. And this is here, industry, associations, IMA, need to provide inputs, need to put their heads together. That how do we provide these reforms in process and governance, whether it's in the banking sector, it's in SEBI, it's in our institutions, it's in government processes. This is where the real problem comes in. And this is the big challenge before us. Take land acquisition. We will have a central law very soon on land acquisition. Land acquisition is a contentious subject. And land acquisition has been very inequitable. For many years of my life, I've myself fought land acquisition, not for the purpose of acquisition, but on the price. We must recognize that projects, in 20 years ago, 30 years ago, land was acquired by government for big irrigation projects, public sector to build the big colonies of BHEL and HMT and big public sector units who are acquiring land, besides the smaller pockets for hospitals or schools or whatever it is. And land acquisition was never equitable. You're paid 10% of the price. There had to be a public uproar on this. If you are being paid 10% of the market price, in your parlance, you look at replacement costs. But if you are being paid 10% because the law is so antique and so inequitable, and the government also doesn't want to pay more, because then that project doesn't become viable. Irrigation project, if you pay the fair acquisition price, the irrigation project won't be viable anymore. So this is the history of land acquisition. We've got to start from there.
With the economic changes sweeping through the country, what is the future going to look like, and in what areas do we still need to work? We will bring you those insights after a break.
Focus. Ideate. Innovate. Enable. Focus. Ideate. Innovate. Enable.
While the policies could soon be in motion, these are exciting times for the Indian economy. And how exactly will the new and foreign players change the Indian retail landscape? How will this drive for growth precipitate real-term impact?
The brand landscape in India. I would argue that India is actually a highly under-branded country, because if you look at the last 10 years and you look at the number of new brands that have got created, and actually it's very small considering the fact that India is a market that has been growing, it's among the fastest growing markets in the world, and yet the rate of new brand creation has not kept pace. And part of the reason historically has been because of the very large share that you have of trade, which is still traditional retail. The pipeline there is a relatively small pipeline. I mean, in the way in which brands, the kind of space that they can get and the opportunity that they have is a very defined kind of an opportunity. I think what modern organized retail does is to open out that opportunity vastly and give the room for a lot of new brands in new categories, new kinds of brands to emerge. So I think so at one level you can look at it only from the perspective of retail, this kind of a change. But I think it's at a much more fundamental level.
The floodgates for multi-brand retail are soon going to open in India. And here's how the global community is eyeing these new prospects.
I think by and large very positively, because the basic foundation for growth in India requires stable government policies that allow for growth, that support infrastructure development. All are necessary to help foreign companies be successful in